Now that we're continuing here, we're going to talk all about groups. And this is one place where there's going to be a couple parts where Onyx handles things a little bit differently than VISTA. And it may have confused you if you've looked at it in the past, but we're going to make it really simple here today. Groups, very simply, are groups of lights, groups, it's bad to use the definition of a word, or the word in its definition, but groups are sets of lights, there we go, are lights put together in selection order, so in the order you selected them, for quick reselection. As we mentioned before already, we have auto groups, and those are on the fixtures presets page. I mean, they're all over the place, there's multiple places, but they're here in the auto groups. And they're just simply a group for each light that you patched, okay? Each type of light, boom, auto group, nice and easy. But you're probably going to want to make other groups. And there's a few ways to do this. But I want to kind of look at it almost the VISTA and make it nice and easy for you. So when it comes to storing groups, obviously we brought in our groups that were existing here at the bottom. And so those are our automatic groups. But there are a few ways to store groups in Onyx to make it really easy. So say, for example, we want to go ahead and do a group that's half of our lighting setup, okay? So, for example, literally these fixtures right here, we're probably going to end up leaving 407 here out of it. So we take that half, I'm going to turn on highlight, so in the visualizer you can see what's going on, okay? And then what we're going to do is I'm just going to go ahead on my keypad, which is right here, or I can pop it out. And if I was on a console, of course, I've got a physical keypad. If I have an Onyx NXK, which I highly, highly, highly recommend because they're so inexpensive and so good, then I would go ahead and type it in there, and I would just have this keypad in front of me. And the easiest way to record a simple group, there's two ways, but the easiest way to do it without changing screens is just hitting record group 1, enter. Okay, the other way is just to hit record, and then over here on the fixtures preset window, we go to the groups tab, and we've got our groups. There's benefits to both. If you record and then press the group here, and if you record, the first way I did it, record group 1, there's not a way to rename the group in the same workflow. It does keep you on the same screen though, which can be helpful, but at the same time, one thing we could do here to kind of expand our layout, because I believe this is what VISTA does, is they have some groups at the bottom. So we could do the same thing. Again, we're making ourselves, it's, the same thing every day, right? So let's just say I go and let's see if it'll let me do this without destroying things. Probably not, so I'm just going to kill the 2D plan, split it, grab it back. I can hit tab on any of these windows like this that are up and flip through them really quick until I find my 2D plan. Oh, right there. And then at the bottom, go ahead and do groups. Resize. And then on my groups here, I'm just going to go ahead and do some cleanup here. So I'm going to get rid of the top toolbar. I'm going to make sure everything else is off. And layout-wise, I really just want it to be one column so that I can resize it down about as small as I can. And then on the 2D plan window, while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and I think I can get rid of this bottom. No, it's not going to let me get rid of the bottom. That's okay. Oh yeah, it will let me get rid of the bottom. So now I essentially have literally the same amount of space I had before, and now I've got groups at the bottom. Whoopee! So we'll go ahead, we'll set our zoom. Actually, I almost hit save first. We'll set our zoom, we'll save. Perfecto. And so that's probably going to be the easier, more VISTA way to do it. Relock our workspace. So once I've recorded this, I can name it. So I'm going to call it left half. And then walk you through a little bit more smoothly the quick way of doing it with a screen layout like this. So if I go ahead here and I select these fixtures, again, 3 and 406 we're going to miss. I've got highlight on, so it's visualizing for me on the rig itself. And then I can go ahead and press record, press where I'd like it to record, type to name it right away, right half. If I can type, press enter, and I'm good to go. Nice and easy. So you can see making groups is really easy. You can have them on your screen like this. You can also have them here. But it can go even further. So there is a section in Onyx called the grouping tools. It's available here on this window, which can be really, really helpful. So just as an example here, I'm going to go ahead and grab these 12 fixtures, okay, the Darts 360s. Here in the grouping tools, I now have options to select them in different ways. So say I want to grab every other fixture, okay? I now have every other fixture selected. I should keep highlight on. And every other fixture is selected but inactive. So if I hit the next key on my console, again, on the physical console here, or on the software or an NXK, I now go to the other half. And so that's the cool thing is the grouping tools. I can now store this as a group and call it Darts E2. I now see that I actually stored that E2 grouping filter in the top corner there and selected all those lights. It can be really helpful in the future, so I definitely recommend doing that with a lot of your fixtures. But that's really it. If you do need to update a group down the line, say, for example, you take your right half group and you go, okay, you know what? I want to make sure I'm going to put fixture 3 in the right half. Why? I don't know. I could just go select that fixture, press record, and press the group. Now it's going to ask if I want to merge or replace. So merge is going to add new stuff. That's what we want to do. Replace would replace that group with our current selection, which is a way to remove items from a group. Okay, let me show you that for a second. I'm not clicking that because I don't want to make that change. But if I selected my right half group and then I wanted to get rid of something, I could then just deselect it, record, press that group, and that time I would use replace. Again, not going to do it right now because I don't want to mess up my nice pretty group, but that's exactly how it would work. Okay, assigning groups to a playback. This is where VISTA is going to be a little bit different from Onyx, but don't be afraid. So in VISTA, you take groups and you store them to playbacks. You put them on a fader on your console, and that then becomes a master control for that group. Okay, Onyx has the same functionality. It's just called an inhibitive fader, and it's actually a little more powerful because it's at the fixture level. So all I have to do is, let's say I want to control, again, the level of these darts fixtures. I select all of them. I take them to full, so at full here on my keypad. Go ahead, press record. Press the fader that I'd like it to be on, and this at the bottom here is faders 1 through 10 of any Onyx console. That's the typical ones, okay? So say I want to put it on 10. I call it Darts Intensity, and I'm going to make it the yellow inhibitive fader, okay? That in function is exactly the same thing as your group fader that you're used to in VISTA, where I got to bring it up to full at the start, which by default it does. And when I bring it down from full, it controls the overall level of that group of those lights without affecting the cues that they're in. Okay, same exact thing. So if you've used those groups, you put them on faders in VISTA, this is exactly the same thing. I know VISTA has group fader actions and button actions as to what happens when you press the fader or when you press the keys above or below those faders, and Onyx has controls for the same thing. So all we do is right click or double tap and press this cog, and we're going to get this window, which are the Cuelist options. Head over to function assignments, and right here, it's going to show you the layout of the fader. Now, depending on what hardware you have, you might have different things. Like I'm on an NX4 here, which means that for each fader, I do have 2 buttons above a fader and 2 buttons below. Other hardware may have less, and so it's all about just choosing what's closest to the fader. So if you're on like an NX Touch, you have a fader, you have a button below, you have, I think, 2 buttons above. So you would have everything except the very bottom. Right in here, for any of the buttons, you can set them to do whatever you need. So for an inhibitive, by default, it's flash, flash, the fader is highest takes precedence, the button below it selects those lights, okay? And then the very last button is a flash out. It takes them to 0. I would probably take one of these, maybe the top one, and make it the flash out, right? So that you have a button to flash it. You have one, you can control it with the fader. You can select it. And then, of course, with the last button, it's a flash out, okay? totally something you can do as you're working. But honestly, it's not something I use that much, but if you're used to using that functionality in VISTA, it's totally here. Totally. You can also do things like, it mentions here in VISTA, there's properties for ignoring release all, things like that. That's not really going to apply here. We do have general options here across our whole show, but that's not really going to apply. Essentially, an inhibitive fader like this in Onyx is never going to release, okay? Pretty much no matter what you do. Individual fixtures, however, can be set to ignore release, and that's going to happen in the patch, okay? That's going to happen in the patch. We pop out this pane, and it allows you to say, hey, don't have the Grandmaster control this light. That includes blackout. You have those options. They're still here. So if you have something like house lights that you don't want the master fader to affect, you can totally set that to do that here. That's not a problem at all. Okay. With regular cues, you can set them to ignore release, all, etc. We're not quite there yet, so we're not doing that, but I want to let you know, like, that's all there, all totally doable. So if you're following along the VISTA training videos that you took previously, or just, you know, coming in from your wealth of knowledge, that's totally there. Other than that, that's pretty much it. It's really not that hard or complicated, and I think you'll find, like everything else as we get going here, learning Onyx and getting up to speed as a VISTA user isn't too difficult. So once again, be sure to subscribe here on our channel, like the video, and most importantly, if you're in the US and you're switching over from VISTA or considering it to Onyx, then go get your Onyx stuff from Learn Stage Lighting Gear. These videos are free, but we would love your business for your console, your lights, heck, even audio and video stuff. We want to be able to help you with everything you need, get you awesome personalized pricing, and just be there for you. Bundling in with Onyx stuff, free training, so you can learn to use it even better than these videos. So head over to LearnStageLightingGear.com. If you are in the US, request a quote on that Onyx gear you're looking for. We'll help you get it. We'll help you answer any questions about what license you might need or what unlocks what license. We're here for you. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.